All right, welcome everybody. Happy Friday. We're here live with Gaurav Triphati. And today we're going to talk about AI, video communication, and the future of workflows. Our tagline is why every startup needs to be a virtual first business right now. Gaurav, looks like you have a dog in your background. That's that's awesome. I love it. All right, so let's go. So your bio is extensive. Just by way of a summary, Gaurav is a 3-time entrepreneur, founder and CEO of SuperPro, and we're going to talk about that a bit today, which is a SaaS startup. SuperPro helps businesses offer a better and consistent customer experience by giving them the workflows, templates, and data around video communication. And their vision is to power a sustainable and fulfilling future of work. So Gaurav has studied at ITT or IIT Bombay and has 16 plus years of experience across multiple startups. He holds 30 patents, and the team he led filed over 100 patents, and he has raised more than $30 million in investments. To say the least, he's got a ton of experience. So let's get right into it. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Thanks for calling me here.
So as we were talking... So as we were talking offline or before we went live, I looked into what SuperPro does, but I intentionally didn't study it deeply because I recognize that a good number of our guests may not have been aware of that previously. So will you give me kind of the elevator pitch about what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So we are helping startups offer a better customer experience around video communication. And we are doing it by helping them with the workflows, template, and data. Now, how it helps really is very simple. Right now, getting started with video communication for startups is a pain. It will cost you at least 12 to 36 man-months to build something using all the options which are available. Of course, unless you want to use off-the-shelf options like Zoom or Meet, which you can't. If you want it inside your product, inside your website or app. And that's where we come in with us. You can go live in days and not months. So your go-to-market time is cut short by an order of magnitude. And you are able to launch faster. It means you are able to make money much sooner than you're only able to.
You know, I've talked to a lot of founders and I haven't found one yet that didn't like to make money at their business. So I think that's a win. So tell me about one of your favorite use case examples.
Yeah. So one of our early customers and one of our first successes is with a startup called Work Network, and they're the founder. He's building something on the lines of Lunch Club. So Lunch Club is pretty famous in the Valley, and now yes, it reached India as well. And the Work Network started the same way, started small, just on the same idea of connecting people. And they were using Google Meet, and they realized the importance of video communication, and they realized why they need control and flexibility around it. And they had started on the journey to build something of their own. Yeah. And as we see, Lunch Club has built its own. So there are reasons of why, as a startup, as a business, you cannot continue with off-the-shelf options. So they knew that they had to do it, and they were exploring options. They had the team had already spent a month looking at options and trying to build something. And that's where the founder, just on an afternoon, spoke to my co-founder, and the discussion was like, okay, how can you guys help us? It was like, you can go live in a day. It was like, he didn't believe it. We said, okay, let us show you. And the next day, he was live with us. So that's where he said, then he just said that you guys just took away a ton of headache away from me, because now I don't even need to worry about this part. Now I can look into more on my product roadmap and worry about the business and not worrying about the tech really.
Yeah, that's great. So how about a use case scenario where a company could use SuperPro to provide customer support? How would that work?
Oh, amazing. And that is one of the use cases where we have just signed up a pretty large startup who have recently raised funding, and they've been in the news in India. And they came to us, and interestingly, they had looked at all the options and everything, and honestly, we were not sure of why they have come to us
Okay.
because they have the money, they have the team, they have everything. But then they came to us and they said, "No, guys, we really don't want to do this. It's not that we can't do this.
Right.
We don't want to do this." They said, "Our focus is different, and this is what we are looking at." So on the customer support side, it's one of the things. Yes, it's important, but it's not the whole product. So we want
Sure.
we want the experts to look at it, which you guys are, and of course, as they said that yeah, we have heard that with you we can go live in days and not months, and that's right. And again, for them, they realize that yeah, it's not just a video that we are giving. Yeah, we are giving the entire workflow, and such a simple thing. I'll just give an example there. Yeah, what really changed the perception. Uh, when you are talking about a customer support scenario, yeah, the typical thing that comes to mind is the chatbot. That a
Uh-huh.
customer comes to you, texts something, then is waiting while you are interacting with the bot, let's say, and then you have to wait before
Yeah.
somebody comes in, a human comes in.
Right.
Yeah. Now imagine the option wherein you are there, and yes, within just like one or two messages, you see that you are able to talk to a human live on video. Yeah. And that too, wherein the other person, the customer support agent on the other side, what he gets is, or he or she gets is a very familiar ring. Like for him, the system just rings up. Oh, there's a customer. So
I
you
see.
that user experience is very familiar. Yeah, it's not that you are somewhere else and you have to keep checking the dashboard and you know that
Mhm.
yeah, it's a ring. That means there's a customer who's calling me. So that whole experience itself is very familiar, and
Oh,
not
yeah.
alien.
And it's all
That's
just
where
browser based. Like the customer can utilize this tool and the client on Chrome, for example.
yes, yes, definitely. So
Wow.
we support the browsers, and now we have of course come up with the SDKs as well. And so the idea is that, and then now since we are all remote, and that's what the workflow that we talk about. It should not matter that you are tied to a desk or you're tied to a location. Yeah, you
Yeah.
are if you are there, yeah, you will have Super Pro powered app in your mobile, or you're on the desk wherever, and it will ring simultaneously. So sure, you know that yeah, you won't miss a thing. Of course, as long as you mark yourself as available, and that is
Sure.
what now the companies themselves are looking at. They also understand that as long as the job is getting done, it doesn't matter where my team member is sitting, whether it's on the beach somewhere or on the
Yeah.
mountains, wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. So when the customer rings in using video, are they also on video or can they be on audio only?
Or they can choose to. They can choose to.
Okay.
So it's they have the option to enable the video, not enable the video. By default, the video is not enabled. Yeah, but they
Okay.
have the option if they want to
It's
enable it,
probably
they
good.
can.
Yeah. It's probably good to warn people, make sure that they aren't just suddenly on video when they weren't expecting to be. That could
Yes.
be somewhat embarrassing.
Well,
I like this because it's the closest thing we can get being remote to an in-person conversation like you would have if you just walked into a business and interacted human to human.
yes.
Yeah, that's great. Have you found that companies are willing to adopt the product? And if no, like what kind of pushback do you have to overcome in the sales process?
Oh, honestly, till date we haven't heard no. We have heard only two things. One is that okay, yeah, we have something in house which we are trying. Second is uh, we are thinking about so we will start in a month or two. There is no one till date where we have heard that oh no, we don't want it. No, everybody is very clear. It's the future. They want it. It's only a matter of when. Yeah. And again, whether it's Super Pro or something else, but yes, video definitely is there. And more we see that it's a larger startup. So startups who have already gone through that journey, of trying out different options. I don't want to use the phrase burning fingers, but
Yeah.
burning fingers that
Yeah.
Zoom, Google, whatever. Because what matters is the customer experience. They know that uh, with the off-the-shelf options they cannot provide that experience. Then they get into the journey of developing something, and then they realize it looks deceptively simple. That yeah, we can just put one engineer and we can go live in 2 weeks. No, never happens.
Yeah.
It's a completely different technology. And again, when it comes to the workflow, you need a lot of things, a lot of moving things to come together, as one.
Yeah.
And everything is happening in the background. So that's where it gets very difficult. And we have seen so many founders tell us that uh, I made a mistake. I thought my team is telling me it will take 2 weeks. I gave them a month. It's 3 months, and we are nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you cannot blame the team members because it really looks very simple. It looks very simple, but when you get into it, that's where you realize. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me what you mean when you say why every startup needs to be a virtual first business. What do you mean by that?
So that's what my realization has been in last 1 year. The pandemic hit, and I think a lot of this was forced upon people, startups. That yes, of course, nobody opted for it. Naturally, they were
Yeah.
forced to behave in that way. But then, if we really see, and if we look back in last 12 months, have the businesses stopped? No, not really. Yeah, businesses. In fact, a lot of businesses
Interesting.
have boomed. Yeah, and that is
Yeah.
where I see that if you in terms of the mindset, if startups really think virtual first, then you are expanding your horizons to anything because what we have seen as a typical trajectory and what everybody, so including investors, everybody has been advising or start with a small market, focus. So maybe your city, yeah, start with your
Hmm.
city, look at customers, then look at your state, then your country, and then you are ready to fight the big battle. Then go to US. Now I really it doesn't make sense. Yeah. As a startup, you really need to think, no, you're virtual. It doesn't matter where you are. So
Yeah. Right.
and for your customers also, it doesn't matter
Hmm.
where you are. So if it's the same time and effort, yeah, I'll say in the time that you will think only about your city, forget it. In that same time, you can do the whole country. Yeah, really, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. In the
And
whole world.
the time to go global has really come down drastically. I mean, we see so many
Hmm.
examples already. Startups already going cross border, going global, really fast. And that's why I think it's a mindset that if you think virtual
Yeah.
first, you don't need to think in terms of locations or offices. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so again, the in B2B parlance, we always used to think in terms of the territories, geographies, regions.
Yeah.
Now I think it's time that we need to overcome that thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would like to transition into talking about the human side of virtual business or remote business. It's interesting because I just had a conversation with Patrick Burns from Commons.so just a few days ago, and his product is like the audio version. It's similar to what you're doing, but audio, and it's really meant for teams. It's the goal is to replicate those serendipitous conversations where you and I run into each other at the coffee bar and we have a conversation about the weekend that segues into business and collaboration. And so his goal is to mimic that. And I see what you're doing, like I mentioned earlier, it's very much to try to mimic the face-to-face interaction that I think most of us really enjoy, but that's not technically possible with virtual. So what are your thoughts on the human side of this and this sort of push to make the virtual world as close to physical reality as possible?
Yeah. Very, very interesting question, Jim. So that's what we've been thinking. I think the reason itself. So how we are thinking, or how I started thinking, it's more to do with the belief that this needs to happen. Whether
Mm.
whether it's it's happening or not, or how can it happen. The point is, it needs to happen. And that's where we say, for a sustainable world, it simply needs, you need to cut down on the business travel. We have realized over 1 year that most of that travel was useless. It was useless, really. Yeah. And that's why I think why people still are hesitant, because you rightly said, the experience doesn't come that closer to a face to face. So that's what we are trying to understand. What is it that's missing? How can we bring that this experience closer to that? What are the elements? What happened? One of the things we realized that yes, it's the psychology that is developed. The way we have grew up. We grew up thinking about cameras as something which are public always. The moment we hear the word camera, what comes to mind is like, oh, we are on the stage. It's movies and everything. That's what comes to mind, and that's where I think psychologically, that is what is making people put up that guard. Be guarded and not being natural.
Gosh, you're so right. It's like when I push the live button on this show, it's like I think that we collectively are like, tense up a little bit, and what's interesting is, and this is true whether I'm a guest on a show or hosting, is I find for myself and for most people, I think most people forget after a few minutes. It kind of wears off and like, oh, just get into the conversation. But you're saying, like, if we could, what would be the word? Like, habituate ourselves to thinking of cameras differently and becoming more comfortable. It's funny, I went to get a drink a few minutes before our conversation. I thought, I don't know why this came up in my mind, but I thought about Ryan Seacrest and all of the hosting he does. And he's really good. Like, he's just really good live. And I think at some point the guy has to have just become comfortable with it. And he's able to just adjust on the fly without thinking about it. So I think what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, is like, we just need to habituate to this. We need to get more used to it, and then it becomes more natural. And then if that happens, then maybe it would more so mimic the in-person interactions that we love having.
Yeah. I think it's more because we are still carrying that baggage of video conferencing, that legacy, that baggage of 2 decades almost. And we need to see how video conferencing evolved and what was the reason. But of course, it evolved primarily from business and enterprises, and wherein you were really, the terminology itself that we see now, rooms, conferencing rooms or rooms. That's because yes, that was used to be a conferencing room, and people just use those terms. So we are still thinking in those terms, and there. It was always very clear that it's a meeting and it's a bunch of people looking at you, and that is how it evolved.
It implies formality.
Yeah. And that's why we think it needs to be rethink. We need to literally think outside the boxes.
Right, outside the room.
We need to think of it how it can be made more natural, and where it means. For very simple things, we have been even looking at experiments. For example, why does it need to be a single view? Why can't I? I have, most of the people have multiple devices now. So I have I have 2 smartphones. I have this Mac. So why can't I connect using my other phone as well to give you a different view as well, so that you feel we are able to move around, and we really see, because right now, if I move around too much, you will miss my face. Right. And that's what creates that disconnect. No, maybe the guy is not interested. But the fact is, okay, natural conversations do always move. It's not, you're never facing people all the time. You're never like, you cannot do that. You're looking into the eye whole time. It can't happen.
That's true.
It's not natural.
That's why I tell me if you've experienced this, but I find that the best conversations, especially if you need to have a deep conversation at night in your car, side by side, like that is the best. I feel like it's easiest to be vulnerable there, because there's just something about, I don't know, just not looking someone directly in the eye nonstop. There's just something about that environment.
That's very deeply rooted in psychology. Again, the way businesses have evolved over a period, we always, and we have read it as well as we have experienced it the way we have grown. We know that the phrases sitting across the table, looking into the eye, these are always, when it's about negotiation, it's about, and it's again being very formal. And that is what, again, it's, that's where we need to understand that, yeah, we need to move away. We need to change those things. And these are the bits which needs to be tweaked so that people really start becoming more natural and start enjoying the conversation. And you don't feel like, it's not like I'm being interviewed or worse, I'm being interrogated.
Yeah. That's so true. So I can't help but notice you're very passionate about this topic. Where does that come from?
A good question, and I really even look back and I try to understand where is it coming from, and I realized in the past few months I've realized that I think it's the way I grew up. So I grew up mostly in middle of forest. So I've been very close to nature. Most of my childhood was in very remote parts of India, middle of forest, very small towns. And for me, growing up, it was very natural that you could say, "Oh, but today I was going to the school and there was that bear on the side." Yeah, I was coming down and I saw that hyena was crossing the road. Yeah, and so it's very natural. I never realized that these are wild animals and you need to be scared of them. No, we used to. I've seen bears, hyenas, even leopards very close. And that's why I realized everybody minds their own business. You don't trouble them; they won't trouble you. And and that's where I think my love for nature comes from. And I think one of the things which really I think impacted me was I was so happy there, and I had to move. I had to leave that place because of course my father had a job in government job. He used to keep moving every 2 years, 3 years. He used to get transferred. Yeah, and so that was one thing, that why can't he stay at one place that we love? Yeah, but he used to tell me, no, that's the nature of the job, unfortunately. And then again, he said that, no, I want to make sure you get you have access to good education, and which is possible only when you are in a bigger city. Yeah. And that's where I said, why it needs to be there? Why really? And ultimately, I reached IIT Bombay. It was again in the middle of the forest. I think that's somewhere rooted that I really see a lot of the issues in the world, really, when it comes around business or whatever, it's all tied to people movement. Why do people need to move, really? A lot of this migration is responsible for a lot of the damage we really see around. If we can really halt this, yeah, I think world can really be a much better, much sustainable place, because you then, as a human, see, whatever happens, nobody can deny the fact that you are always happy when you are with family, you're with friends, where you grew up. That's where your family, your friends are. And even if you are moving for education or for work, you are making a sacrifice, and that sacrifice hits your mind. You whether you accept it or not, you will realize it after a few years, but it really hits you. You get uprooted. And you try to adjust. It puts up a lot of. It really is lot stressful, and that's what I think. If we can really make it happen, that yes, wherever you are, you can get access to the best education. You can get access to the best jobs, whatever that. So all it matters is that yes, you want to do something, you want to learn something, and you want to you want to work, you want to deliver value. You have the right skill set. Doesn't matter where you are. That is what I really believe.
Wow, that's really powerful. It's amazing timing too, because just last night, my wife and I think she actually may be watching, but we had a conversation on that topic about moving. And she and I have moved a lot, and that's almost exclusively my fault, because for so much of my life I was seeking novelty, and I enjoyed the short-term novelty of moving to a new location. But then as I've gotten older, I've grown to realize what I've lost in terms of those deep relationships. And I'm kind of envious. Like my sister, for example, has lived in the same city, or within 30 miles of the same city her whole life. And she has this deep network that she can pull on for anything. It really, like probably dozens of 2 a.m. people, when she needs something, they're there. And there's just, you can't assign a monetary value to that. It's just so incredible. And so I hear what you're saying, like that you've brought this around perfectly well. And I understand now. So the tool that you have at Super Pro and other tools that provide for education allow people to stay where they're at in their community and yet have gainful employment and have the opportunity to have an education. That's fantastic. But what are the limitations currently? Like at our company, we have team all over the world, and a good part of our team is in Nairobi, Kenya. And our staff there is incredibly hardworking, well-educated, very technically savvy. But there's one of our team members, Jeff, was sharing with me the other day. He said that 70% of Kenya, I hope I'm not messing up the statistic, but 70% of Kenyans are not literate, meaning that they don't know the primary languages of Swahili and English. So there's a significant limitation there just because of that. And then further, there's internet connectivity issues in the more rural areas outside of Nairobi. And I would guess, is that true I'm sure that's true for India too, right?
In India now we already see, so there has been a phenomenal telecom revolution in India.
Okay.
Thanks to amazing companies here and government push really. And then as we have seen now, it has reached really the remotest parts as well. And it's still, of course, the work is not done yet. But then just being able to access internet, being able to get connected, we already see it has brought tremendous value to people, and above all, it's just people everybody I believe as a human, everybody wants to do good. Nobody really consciously plans things about every day, every living second, that they have to do something bad. No, I don't believe that. And it's just that for that they need to know what's the possibility, what is it that they can do. And that's why we think now in India it's happening. Now people are realizing that there's a much bigger world out there, and it's a world full of opportunities, and that if they learn something, they will be able to be part of that world. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask that question in a little bit of a different way. If you were a little boy back in the forest, back in the community where you used to live, and it was 2021, and you were 5, 6 years old, etc., would it now be possible for you to stay in that same community and grow up to do what you're doing now and to have achieved what you've achieved to date?
Oh, definitely. Now I think, at least where I grew up, there things have changed a lot. I see simply the connectivity is there, and everything I see, and I see, in fact, I see students there who don't have to move really. Yeah, people have realized that yes, since the education is online, and it just last 1.5 years, I have seen that. My friends who are still there, yeah, they ask me questions like, "Oh, my son is there. I want him to, access the best." Because see, it's very simple. They have the money, disposable income. They have the connectivity, and they said now we have options. So they were just discussing about, should we take up Vedantu? Should we take up Baiju? By the way, these two are the biggest of the edtech companies in India.
Okay.
So you can imagine that it was never possible. Now, wherever they are, we can make sure that for him to give the best education to his son, he knows he doesn't need to go out. He doesn't need to send him somewhere. He can get it.
That's amazing. And I can't help but think about how this plays out when that young man is an adult and fully into his career, call it 10, 15, 20 years, how does that reshape the entire world and the workforce of the world? It's bound to change. I just with what we're doing at our company, like I said, we hire a lot of people that are in countries that have not historically been able to work online or had this opportunity, and we're able to provide jobs for them that pay significantly higher than what they can get locally. And I can't help but think, as that fast forwards 15 or 20 years, I think we're going to have a very different workforce. And I'm not an economist, and this is over my head, but I can't help but think that changes the way that we work in the world.
Oh, no, definitely, definitely, it's going to be a lot different, and that is where again I come back to our vision of Super Pro. It's a sustainable world, and the fulfilling future of work. That fulfillment is for an individual. It's
Mm-hmm.
really because it needs to be balanced out. Unless at an individual level we are happy, we have the sense of fulfillment. A sustainable world again is not possible. So these two go
Mm-hmm.
hand in hand, and that's why we think that the future of workforce, yeah, really would be wherein they know that one, of course, the advent of technology, AI, and that's where AI is going to play a big role. That uh, they will not need to even worry about the mundane, yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
redundant tasks. Yeah, they
I
know that
see.
it will be taken care of. They won't even worry about. So everybody will be really just looking at what really makes you happy. What is it that you enjoy? There are people who just enjoy talking to people. Good, you can focus on that. Right now, we see that you may be very good at what you do, but still your progress is hindered because you need to learn a bunch of tools.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make these things work together. You need to spend a lot of time in that manual drudgery that while
Mm-hmm.
doing this, I have to do this as well. Or I have to figure out how to make notes while doing this. I have to record the
Yeah.
conversation. Oh, how do I get transcribed? And then if it gets transcribed, how do we pick out the action items from it? How
Mm-hmm.
do we organize everything? Very simple things. How do I get all of the data from all of my meetings,
Yeah.
conversations at one place? These are very simple problems which we see as of now are not solved really
I
in,
see.
in its entirety. And that's where we think that it will be more about workflows. And so 20 years from now, I think a lot of it will be definitely automated, and people
Mm-hmm.
would be people would have more real free time. It's like what we say, the quality time. It will
Yeah.
it will have, and wherein that's where I see that humanity as a whole, the progress will be a lot more exponential because
Yeah.
we have seen uh, the creativity is it needs time. It needs time, and it needs more
Yeah.
of that quality time. It needs more of that me time.
Mm-hmm. This makes me think. I think this is a new thought for me, but I think it makes sense. I think for so long we've seen a significant underutilization of human potential. And what I mean by that is I think about yesteryear in the time when your choices for work were incredibly limited. So you could work in the factory, you could work maybe on the farm or maybe in a small store, but the nature of that work was limited. So you could have someone that's maybe incredibly capable, incredibly bright, incredibly driven, and their choices are so few that they have to just do what they have to do to work. So and I'm not a technical guy, but I think I understand this enough to say that, and from what you're saying, that if AI comes along and is coming along and replaces humans in sort of the more menial tasks, then that allows humans to operate in the highest and best use of their ability, which would be collectively really amazing for the world. Is that accurate?
Yes, definitely. I believe it entirely. Yeah.
So then what would you say to the people that are concerned about AI, bots, et cetera, taking over their jobs? And I know that, I don't know the details of it, but I know that Amazon, for example, is working hard to retool their workforce, to upskill them. But so what would you say to I guess, doubters or naysayers that are sort of against AI growing?
I think I think people are somehow speaking on behalf of others. That is one.
Okay.
They are not. Most of the people I've spoken to, they are. When I ask them, what about you? What about your work? Then they
Yeah.
no, for me, I think it's going to be okay. But what about others? Everybody is talking about others. And the fact is, if you talk to those people who we are really talking about that the jobs will get replaced, if you talk to them, why they are in that job in the first place, then you will hear it from them. Because yes, they need to support their families, they needed to
Mm-hmm.
do something, and it's because of the lack of opportunities, yeah, that they have picked up that job. It's not that they want to do that, no, yeah. And in the
Yeah.
first place, why they could not go for other opportunities that were available? Because in the first place, they didn't have access to those learning opportunities.
Yeah. Good point.
So that's what I think. It's you cannot decide for I'm pretty sure I'm 100% sure nobody on no human in this world would want to spend 12 hours a day digging holes.
Right.
Nobody,
Yeah.
nobody wants to do that. People are doing that because there are no options, and
Mm-hmm.
that is where I think that if it that if we are able to get to a point where in the first place they have those opportunities, the learning opportunities, the upskilling opportunities, yeah, then they will be the first one who will solve that problem. That yes, I don't want to do this. I know how I can make a machine do it. I know how I
Mm-hmm.
can train that AI model. That's what I think.
I see. I guess if I'm to play the devil's advocate, and I've heard this mentioned, that for the, I would say, relatively small percentage of the population that is in the lower range of the IQ scale, and they're more limited, because a lot of this stuff it's complicated, it's abstract, it's somewhat difficult. But would you say that there are still opportunities available in this new world of work for people that are a bit lower on the IQ scale?
I kind of would disagree with the grading around the IQ scale, and
Tell
it's
me
my
more.
personal experience. My personal experience has been that uh, it's very easy to dismiss someone as that yeah they don't have the IQ, but and because I've grown at such places wherein so there are tribals, yeah, and the way our growth has been over past centuries, we have always looked down upon these people, yeah,
Hmm.
people who are forest dwellers or have been living. We are being taught that way. We are being taught in a way that no, these people can't do this. These people are blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Unless you live with them, unless you really engage with them, you cannot understand. You cannot appreciate that in their environment, in their setting, they have a higher IQ than you.
Yeah.
They can survive in a jungle. They can survive in a forest in fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are left there for a day, you will die.
You'd be dead. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
So
completely disagree on that front. Yeah.
so basically the tool for measurement is just very limited. It's
Yeah.
maybe one dimensional and
Yeah,
not as broad as
it's
it
the
needs to
same
be.
thing that we are still coming from that legacy of the factory era. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the factory era has changed to the office era. Yeah. We say that yeah, people who are the smart guys. Oh, those who go to the offices.
Yeah, it's so funny. That's just so interesting. Well, you've obviously have been very successful in your professional career. This is a difficult question, but I'm wondering if you can distill that down to its core elements as far as the ingredients to your success. Like what has made you who you are and enabled you to have the success that you've had?
A great question. First thing itself, and again, I've always thought about it over and over again. And the first thing, it has to be friends. I can say with 100% surety that I would not be what I am if not for my friends who helped me at
Mm.
each and every step. Uh, Second is humility. I learned the hard way that yes, why it matters and why you need to be that way. And third is uh, just being good, just being good to people, being good to your team members. Uh, I, I, a lot of the times I've got these questions. People near me, even my family members, question me, "Why are you ignoring this? These people probably these are cheating you, or they are doing this or that." I think it's not in my hands like what others do. What is in my hand is what I can do. And
Yeah.
I think if I am good, yeah, I am able to have a good sleep. My conscience is clear, and in my limited this life experience, I have seen it happen wherein somebody who who wasn't very convinced about me, or probably tried to do some harm to me. Later on, they came back and they just accepted. No, they just they just looked at me in a wrong way. They just perceived because they had
Yeah.
some misunderstandings about it, but then they understood that yeah, I'm not like that, or I'm not doing any of that intentionally, or I'm not doing it. So I think
Mhm.
being consistently good has
Yeah.
been one of the things. Yeah,
It's a fabulous long-term strategy. You can get a short-term win by being bad or unethical or whatever, but it never plays out well in the long run. It just doesn't come to fruition in a positive way.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. So I've seen my father that way. I've seen his life. So, and when I was a child, when I was growing up, or a teen, I used to question. I had this question: why you have to be so good? Why you have to be so honest? Yeah, why can't you take bribes? Yeah, really. I used to feel that because he was
Hmm.
in police, and I used to feel if you just take maybe some extra money, yeah, we'll be better off. But now I see, if I look at him and his a lot of his peers and everything, yeah, he is happy. He has a family. We are there. Yeah, while all the peers they have suffered. They have suffered, and the way he has this clear conscience, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think. That's why it is important to be good.
Yeah. It's interesting. I really love talking to people about the development of wisdom over time. And I'm curious that question I just asked you, I'm curious if your answer would be different 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, from what I can tell, you've had success for quite a few years. And I'm wondering if you would have given me a different answer if I'd interviewed you a number of years ago.
Oh, definitely. I think 15 years back, I have known, and my friends told me that no, you have become arrogant. Yeah, 15 years back, and that is where I said no, I dismissed it. Forget it. You guys don't care about it. You don't understand me. 10 years
Yeah.
back, I'll say probably friends. I started understanding that yes, no, it's not me alone who is doing it. It's happening because I have the friends have been there to support me.
Hmm.
But the being good part, yes, I would not have said that.
Yeah. I mean, does it not make you curious on how you would answer that question in 5 years from now? I mean, like in my mind, there really shouldn't be an end to the development of wisdom, right? Like we
So
should continually get more and more mature and more wise.
definitely, definitely,
Yeah.
that's what I see that. And then all of my life, yeah, I've been just extremely fortunate uh, to be able to talk to really amazing people, work with really bright people, really amazing people all this while, and being able to get a lot of mentors, right mentors, people who from whom I could learn, and I've learned less from books and more from people. So I think definitely going ahead as well. I think I'll continue learning more, and that's been one of the reasons. Again, when I look back and I realize why I want to do startups, as it's more because I see it's a way for me to really meet more people and learn more, because I push myself in that direction, and I know I will need to reach out to more people, yeah, to learn more, and yes, I know it will happen.
Yeah. Well, and kudos to you and your team for providing a tool that furthers that mission. I think that's really respectable and admirable.
Thank you.
So let's land this plane. I know we're about at time. I'm curious, as the last question, what advice would you give a founder that's not as far down the road as you are?
I think foremost would be to take it easy upon yourself, yeah, to understand and to remember and understand that why you are doing it, yeah, and what matters to you. Yeah, because at times I've seen a lot of founders ignore ignore their health or ignore their family, yeah, and everything in their mind. I can see how it's playing. It's like this milestone, or I'll achieve this, then I'll do that. Then I'll take care of my health. I'll start
Yeah.
running. Once I raise this round,
Yeah.
I'll go with I'll spend more time with family once I have raised this round. No, it never happens like that.
Yeah.
It's important that you don't do that, Cesar, because that way it's going to take a toll on you, definitely. And I've seen it happening again and again with people. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think whatever, I don't really say it like the work life balance. Yeah, it need not be really, it's not a balance that you can measure things. No,
Hmm.
it's just that
It's a
as
good
a
way of thinking.
person, yeah, it's as a person, the mindset needs to be that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, uh, don't don't indulge yourself too much into anything. Know when to stop and where to, and understand that a human life is always wholesome. If you don't take care of your health, yeah, your body is not going to take care of your mind, and then you lose it all. Really, you will lose it all. And if
Hmm.
you don't have the ecosystem, that support system around you of family, friends, yeah, if you don't nurture that support ecosystem around you, yeah, you will have a really a hard fall, and you won't be able to survive.
Yeah. That's so good. Well, you're such a genuine person, and I really appreciate you being gracious with your time. This has been a really fun conversation, and I certainly could go much longer than this. Maybe next time I'm in India, we'll get together for a cup of coffee.
Definitely, definitely, James.
So,
No,
what is the best way for our viewers to get in touch with you?
oh, actually, the best way is my Super Pro page.
Okay.
So it's it's the app.superpro.ai/superpro. You can Google it. I think people will find it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we can
that's
link
where
that on the
you'll get
page
to
as
talk to
well.
me. Yeah,
Perfect.
definitely.
Great. Well, we'll drop that link on the page. Anything else you wanted to say before we part ways?
Oh yes, I think one of the links that's going to go out. Yeah, we ourselves, we are a small startup right now. We ourselves are learning, and we need all your help, the audience, everybody. So if you know a founder who is thinking something around video communication, please do connect us. I think Jim will be sharing a link
Yep.
wherein we are just collecting some information around the usage of video communication. So yes, if you know someone who's a founder, definitely please just send out that link to them, share that. It will help us a lot. We'll really appreciate it, because it will help us to learn and
Yeah.
move ahead with our vision. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for your time. I hope you have a really great weekend.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks a lot for calling me. It's been really fun. I enjoyed the conversation, and my best wishes for you, for the channel, and for the audience as well. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Cheers.